Accountant by profession, she had early forays into the advertising industry. Having worked in Hong Kong and the UK, she decided to return home and take an active part in her family business. Despite having conservative ideas about the role a woman should play in business, her father drafted her into his service. Taking on the then fledgling Jetwing business, she, along with brother Hiran, saw it ascend to great heights. ETV Power Women proudly presents Shiromal Cooray. Hi, and welcome to ETV Power Women. For those of you who missed our introduction program, Power Women is an in-depth chat with some of the island's most successful women who are at the top of their game, who've really hit #1 in their chosen field or professions. Today, we're fortunate enough to have with us Shiromal Cooray, who is the Managing Director of Jetwing Travels. Hi Shiromal, welcome to Power Women. Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Good. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Especially with this being our first program.
Okay.
So, in fact, I've known you for a while. I've read a lot about you, and recently I realized, I didn't know this prior to the show actually, that you were actually first based in Hong Kong, that you were an accountant out in Hong Kong before coming back home.
Well, not really. I studied in England, and then I worked there for a couple of years, well actually 2 years, and then I came here, and I worked for J. Walter Thompson actually when I came back. After I came back, so I got into advertising, and from there that I went to Hong Kong. And also worked in advertising company there as well.
Oh, okay.
And then returned.
Sorry, as accounting for some reason, I probably account. Great. So, how did you find the experience? Sort of, because I mean, you've lived obviously in England, in Hong Kong, and Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Do you think living in all these different countries kind of made you want to get into the travel side of things?
Not really. Well, I suppose my family is in travel and tourism.
Yeah.
So when I got back, my father had already got into this business.
Right.
So it just happened by accident, not by design actually. You know. Because I never wanted to really get into the business, and I don't think my father also intended that I join the business, because he was this traditional kind of a person who thought girls don't do business, you know, they either get married or then they go into some kind of education and basically do a profession as such. So I remember him telling me to become a doctor, and then, you know, his dream was that I have a dispensary and give free medication. Okay. But somehow it didn't really happen. Yeah. And then here I am in this business now. So, I mean, you obviously must have a love or a passion for travel. Yeah, I love traveling as a hobby or a pastime. I love that. I mean, going to different places and seeing how people live. It always fascinates me, doing that. And also, of course, we have a beautiful country. Yeah. I mean, the more you travel, you realize what we have to offer. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. And I think the people are so genuine and nice. So it's really nice to be able to sell something that you believe in. And it's nice.
Because actually someone said to me the other day, which I found quite true, is they said that within such a compact space, we have such a variety of different things to do. So what would sort of be like a typical day in your business life? I mean, you know, just give us an idea of what you would sort of do.
I tend to come to work on time, which is between 8:30 and 9 basically, and then of course it's just no typical day, because so many things happen, as you know, in travel. It's something that, you know, basically some things can go right, things can go wrong. I mean, simple thing like a driver not waking up on time. can cause huge, multiple effects, because somebody doesn't get to the airport on time and they miss a flight. Lots of things can happen in our business. So it could be something like that, just solving a problem, or it could be a series of meetings and answering emails, discussing with people. Because we have a very open kind of an office and a very sort of a fluid structure in our office. So it's very open, and it's different.
And do you think, coming from an advertising, account executive, account management type of background, has kind of translated well into being able to run a company which I believe started off with 6 employees and now employs over 3,000 people?
Well, yeah, that's the hotels and the travels together. Well, I'm also an accountant by profession, so I think that really has helped me
with your problem
with the
solving
business and I mean, understanding
how business really.
Yes.
Really
but of course, travel is something very different. I mean, I can't believe how I became an accountant actually now when you look at it. But it's fun. It's nice. Advertising was also great. I mean, I really enjoyed that time. But I guess it was good for a particular time. I mean, I was younger, and it was really a fun thing, hanging out with people and all of that. But I don't know whether I can sort of continue that, whether I could have continued it. So perhaps it just happened quite well at different times.
And do you find that there are many sort of, women who head up companies within your industry itself? Are you quite sort of, one of the exceptions to the rule?
No, there are a couple of people who have their own entities and who do a very good job as well. I'm not the only one. There are
a few.
Yes.
But I mean, how does it feel to be really at the top of your industry? I mean, if you look at especially Jetwing Travels, it's for years been one of the key players, or the key player in sort of travel and tourism in the island. I mean, how does it feel to be, at the top of?
I don't know, actually.
Do you feel that you
No, I don't. To be honest, I don't. And in fact, when somebody asks me that question, I always think, what have I done? And I always think people who have achieved something, I'm sure, do feel that, because I don't think anybody thinks, oh, I've done this and I've achieved this kind of thing. I don't know. So I don't think I think it just happens, and okay, it does involve a certain amount of sacrifice and hard work and all of that, that's taken for granted. But having said that, there are so many people also who work hard, who sacrifice a lot of things, but who don't sort of seem to achieve things. So I really don't know whether it's luck or what on earth, what
the X factor is.
But there is something, that you can't explain that happens as well. I guess I was lucky because, as I said, it's a family
business.
So I had the support of the family, which was easier.
Because your brother Hiran heads up
hotels,
the hotel side of things.
Actually, it was my father who set up the whole thing.
Company.
So it was just easy to. I'm sure it would be very tough for him. Because which was 30 odd years ago, to get into this business, because it was not really his line of business. He was a building contractor. So it was from there that he evolved into the tourism.
So I mean, but it must be a very, constantly changing sort of field as well, because you've always got new things happening, new hotels coming up, people coming in wanting to see different things. Maybe they've been to the island before and they want to have an entirely new experience. I mean, do you get quite involved in putting things together or coming up with,
At times, not all the time, but that is really the interesting part
of it.
Because there are so many things that you can do, different experiences, because now it's all about kind of an experience. So creating experiences, it's really interesting. And also because different people have different countries, people from say Europe have different interests to people from Asia or from India for that matter. So just catering to their needs and developing things that it is really interesting.
Do you find yourself sometimes, venturing out and going off the beaten track to find new sort of places or new things for people to do? That also happens, which is also very interesting. That's the fun part. It is. And I mean, everyone's sort of saying, 2009 is going to be a very interesting year for us. We've just kind of come through 30 years of civil war. And we're at a stage now where people are hoping that the travel and tourism industry will sort of really take off. And, you know, I mean, do you see that? Have you felt a change?
There is, definitely there is. People are more positive, and I mean, we are positive, so I think that also helps into the others. But definitely outsiders are also very positive, I mean, to operators. So we hope that the consumer himself will also become active and want to come to Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, the effects won't be as quick as it was like during the ceasefire period, because now there's this world recession and all of that happening as well. So that's going to take a while. But definitely around maybe October, November, we should see the results of all of that. Even now, we do see an increase in
But it'll be a very interesting, I guess. Well, it'll be a very interesting time for you. I'm assuming your workload will double or triple.
I know. Hopefully it will happen. Yeah.
So, I mean, are you a workaholic, or do you kind of manage to find balance between?
Yeah, I wouldn't think I'm a workaholic. I mean, but yeah, I try to balance my life. Especially, I mean, okay, I have an adult son now, but when he was small, I tried to spend time with him, and then my parents, and it was more balanced. My friends, I would go on holidays. It wasn't that I would never say I sort of never had a holiday in my life kind of thing, you know. I tried to
kind of find that balance, which is wonderful considering, you know, where you are today. You know, it makes a real difference to have that.
Yeah, again, I think it's because of this family, the structure, it was already there, it was all established, so it was easier
to get.
It isn't as if I had to sort of set up everything by myself, which would have then definitely been harder. Would have been, because it's not easy, as you know, I mean, you're a businesswoman yourself. It's so hard to juggle so many things,
around.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But it's good when you can.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Right, well, we've just got to go in for a little break, but don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back with Shiromal Cooray, who's our very interesting guest on the show today. So we'll see you after the break. Hi, and welcome back to ETV Power Women. We have Shiromal Cooray on the show with us today. For those of you who missed the first half, she's the Managing Director of Jetwing Travel. And we were just having a little chat actually during the break, and Shiromal was telling me all about her wonderful grown-up son. Now, looking at you, I mean, I just couldn't imagine that you have a son who's in university.
Oh,
you know, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, he's just finished university. Yeah. He's just finished his basic degree, and he's planning to do a master's now. So, yeah.
And he studied theatre and psychology, which is a very sort of interesting combination.
I
subjects.
I think his passion was theatre, I mean, acting and singing. I'm sure halfway through he would have realized it's difficult to make a career out of it. So he also did a degree in psychology. I think his dream is to sort of have parallel careers, and then, you know, hopefully have this as a permanent thing, and acting and singing also whenever possible to do. So which is why he wants to do a master's in psychology.
Fantastic.
And I think perhaps my father's dream of coming back and doing something free for the community, that's what he wants to do, kind of, you know, because what he feels is that, you know, in Sri Lanka, psychiatry, or if you say there is something, going and seeing a therapist is not a known thing.
It's sort of taboo almost.
There's something mental kind of business. So I think he feels that there's so many people who needs assistance and just someone to talk to, because he has been with some homes there while he was studying. He had to go for his training, and he says he had to work with abused women and children. And then he had realized how hard it is for people to carry on. So I think that's what he wants to do eventually.
That's wonderful.
I hope he will do it.
That's wonderful, because you know, it was funny that your father's dreams of you becoming a doctor was scuttled by a frog.
I know, because I mean, all my life I was going to be a doctor. And then I finished my O-levels and went into my A-levels, and then when you do the bio, you have to go to the lab and keep dissecting all these things, and I think the formalin and all of that just got into me, and I just couldn't handle it anymore.
Like, no.
And I realized, you know, how could I do this? So it was just a sudden change from there. Within, like, I think 2 days, I had to decide what I was going to do with my life, and it just accounting seemed to be the, you know, the easiest thing. So that's what I did. I changed schools. I was at St. Bridget's, so I had to just change overnight to Holy Family, because St. Bridget's didn't have
an accounting program.
The commerce section, and it happened like that.
But I mean, accounting is such a good base, I think, for anything. Really, it gives you such a grounding.
Definitely, it covers everything. I mean, law and all of that. Definitely, it
comes
did help.
into it.
Yes. And also at that time, we didn't have such a choice. I mean, when many years ago. But now children have such a variety of things they could do.
So how, I know we kind of touched on it earlier before the break, but how exactly did you approach your father and you said to him, you know, I'd like to be involved in this, this is something I want to do, or how did you kind of end up where you are now?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess neither he nor I ever sort of thought of joining the
family business.
And this travel section was really, it was just there. I mean, I don't think even he was ever interested in it.
Right.
Somebody else set it up for him, and it was just running. I lost interest in accounting, and I thought, you know, this is not really what I want to do with my life. And then he said, why don't you join this and do that? So that's basically how I got into it.
Right.
And then I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was lovely.
So it really is your baby. You've kind of been with it since
Yes, for the past, I think, about 17 years I've been doing that.
Wow.
And it's been good. And I'm lucky we have an excellent team of people, obviously, who are wonderful. So it's been good.
And do you still sort of get like a little shiver of excitement or a little thrill when you kind of see, you know, the jet wings sort of logo, the buses going by, the cars, you know,
it does, and especially upper hotels, which are also very unique. And because that again was my father's sort of philosophy, that it has to be a Sri Lankan, or you know, it has to be, have to have a special characteristic. Because there are lots of hotels which can be anywhere in the world. It could be in Bali, it could be in Bangkok or wherever. But we try to do things a little bit different. And they're all different kinds of hotels. We don't sort of, there is no jet wing trademark as such, other than in our hospitality and the service that we offer. So that's really our motto, where we try to be the best in whatever category we are in. We are not saying we are just upmarket or middle range. We have different categories and different styles. So we just try to be the best in that category.
Do you have a personal motto? Is there something that you try and live by on a daily basis? My
thing is sort of not to hurt people, and to be as honest as possible, which does get me into trouble, but otherwise, I try. It's sort of a kind of contradictory thing, because I try not to hurt, but because I'm so open and upfront, unfortunately, I know it hurts people, so then I feel so bad, you know, I've said this and I know they're hurt, but I just can't, you know, curb myself from being so...
but I think people probably appreciate the truth. Sometimes, you know...
I think once they get to know me, but until then they think, oh my God, you know, how could you do this? But that's the way it is.
But is that a family trait? Are your parents, is your brother like that?
I think my father, no, my brother is excellent. He's really an amazing person. He's very gentle and kind and diplomatic and all of that. Whereas I tend to be very harsh and, you know, upfront and sort of not very, very undiplomatic. So that does contrast us quite a bit. But I think my father was also like that, you know. He also sort of was quite
So you take
open.
after him?
Maybe in that trait, yes.
So there's just the two of you in your family?
Yes, just him and me.
Okay. And so, I mean, does your son come home often?
Well, he comes for summer and the winter, or the Christmas time. Since he's just finished, he's been spending about 2-3 months now here. And I think he's planning to go next month back to finish his master's.
So if he doesn't take up psychology, would you like him to join the family business? Is that something that you think
Not really, because I knew right along he wasn't going to, because I remember from the time he was about 3, I mean, his acting and singing, that was his passion. I mean, even as a child, he would like watch DVDs and stuff like that, but never anything else. Yeah, I mean, that's always been what he wanted to do.
What about you? Do you sort of have time to kind of watch DVDs? What do you do to relax, or what are your hobbies, your interests?
I like reading, and I also like traveling. So if weekends, if there is time, I'd like to travel places. But I read otherwise. I also try to do some exercise, you know, because my father was diabetic, so I just feel you need to be healthy. So that's all. I visit friends or relations.
So in Sri Lanka, I mean, what would you say your favorite place to kind of go and visit, or go and, you know, spend a weekend would
I think I'm a bit biased, but I like the Jetwing Viluyana. I really love it.
That is beautiful.
Very nice. I like that.
That is beautiful.
I used to like the Yala Safari, but that went with the tsunami.
That must have been a very...
it was a bit traumatic, but then I guess that's life, isn't it?
So when, I mean, even sort of with the hotels, I know that Hiran manages the hotels. Do you get involved in sort of finding or helping source, like locate places, or suggesting places that are like Viluyana, which is slightly off the beaten track? Do you get involved in that aspect of
it? It depends. I mean, there isn't sort of, you don't have scouts who go looking kind of thing. Often people tell us of places that are available. And also from a business point of view, Sigiriya was critical. I mean, we needed to have something. So in that sense, yes, there are times we get involved. I mean, Hiran gets involved in the travels, and I mean, it's sort of, as I said, it's quite fluid, you know.
But as you were saying, it's quite nice to have that family support as well, knowing that you've got someone to... I mean, and do you think that has really helped you become quite successful in your...
I think so too. I mean, I definitely think so, as a woman especially. Because I know women do find it hard, you know. I've seen women struggle.
Yes, that's...
and because our society is unfortunately not geared for women. I don't think it's really our society.
Women.
I think all over the world, you know, it is like that. So women do find it harder, and, you know, I mean, say even if a woman goes to a bar and has a drink,
it's actually against the law.
Yeah, is it?
It's against the law. We have this archaic law
I didn't know
that says women are not allowed anywhere where alcohol is being served or sold.
Really, I didn't even know that. But you know, if you do that, then you know, that's it. You get branded as somebody. So it's very unfair. And I always find, like, even say you go to a cocktail party, and if you've been invited just by yourself, and as a businesswoman, and you get this group of males who are just having this conversation, and you suddenly go in, and it just changes.
It's like,
so it's really awkward, and you find they wouldn't talk about business, but they'll like to start commenting about your dress, or, you know, some
it's sort of something inane, something very inane.
But I guess that's the way the world is.
But hopefully that'll change.
I hope so too. I think it is changing.
It is changing. It needs to change.
Yeah, I think the younger generation is quite different.
And it's quite a funny thing, considering we've had so many strong female leaders of our country, that we still have little sort of stigmas attached to certain things. So don't go anywhere, because we're going to be right back after the break with Shiromal, where we've got... we're going to talk some more actually about Shiromal and her life, and we've also got a little surprise for her. It's called the Confession Cam, where we've got one of your very good friends talking to us about you and what he thinks you're like. So we're going to be back with that after the break. See you then.